Hey everybody, welcome to day 15 of this blog, of this my daily blog. In the middle of our collective isolation experience, it is Tuesday, March 31st, 2020. Tuesday, March 31st, 2020. The last day, mercifully, of March. I want this to be a real quick one today because I just wanted to mention a couple of things. One is about, we're all stuck in this, sort of social distancing thing, and there's a lot of consequences that comes out of that, and there's a lot of, I've seen sort of what amounts to sort of social media, social distancing shaming that is going on online, like people criticizing others for being too cautious or overly careful or whatever, wearing gloves or wearing masks. I have a friend of mine who's a nurse in the Western New York area, and she wrote the other day that, she went to the grocery store with a mask, and, somebody made fun of her because she was wearing a mask. Or a lot of, sort of panic posts about how, you're doing takeout or whatever, and, you don't have to Lysol the bags and all that, or leave them outside for 3 days, all that type of stuff. And here's the thing. An overabundance of caution doesn't hurt anybody, and people don't do that kind of stuff. We don't do that kind of stuff because we're, doctors or germaphobes or whatever the case, and it may not even be, people may not even be doing it because they're panicking. It just may be because it provides folks with a level of comfort that makes them feel safe. It doesn't hurt anything or anyone if you wipe down your egg carton, before you put it in the fridge. Who cares? Let people feel like they have some control over something that is worldwide and difficult to understand, and potentially deadly, right? I think we've gotten to the point now where most of us know someone who has this or has been affected by it, and it's better to be too cautious than not cautious enough and suffer the consequences. I mean, what's the worst that can happen if you're overly cautious? Nothing. That's the worst that can happen. So give people some space. Even if how they are fearfully reacting seems silly, the fear is still real. So perhaps addressing where that fear comes from is a better way to approach folks than telling them that they're being silly or that they're overreacting. Just a thought. So yesterday was a brutal day. 2020 is throwing some devastating punches at us because we learned that one of the perhaps the greatest living kids storytellers and a New Hampshire native, Tommy dePaola, passed away yesterday. Something like 400 books, something like that. Years ago, I had the great honor of interviewing him. And I've seen some of his programs and so forth, and from everything that I've seen and that other people have spoken about him, he was nothing but a kind and warm-hearted guy, and really loving, and kids loved him, and his work will live on and on and on. So it's quite sad. I've been in the habit of reading, some real localized authors, poets, and musicians, for my shout-outs here and for my poetry. But today, we're going to read something of his. I mean, he's local, right? He was from the North Country, Lakes area up there, and he called New Hampshire home. So, what the heck? He's local, right? So I'm going to read from the opening of perhaps the most famous storybook in the history of storybooks. If you haven't read Strega Nona, I would encourage you to read it, either to your kids or on your own. It's an amazing, magical book. I remember reading it when I was a kid. I'm sure many of you did too. And if you have read it back then, pick it up now and give it another read. It's worth the 10 minutes that it takes to get through it. And if you have a copy of it, certainly look through the illustrations too, because Tommy did the illustrations as well. So maybe one of the most famous kids books, and maybe one of the most famous openings in a picture book. And that's what I'm going to read to you today. Just the opening part. Okay. So here we go. Strega Nona by Tommy dePaola. In a town in Calabria a long time ago, there lived an old lady everyone called Strega Nona, which meant Grandma Witch. Although all the people in town talked about her in whispers, they all went to see her if they had troubles. Even the priest and the sisters of the convent went, because Strega Nona did have a magic touch. She could cure a headache with oil and water and a hairpin. She made special potions for the girls who wanted husbands. And she was very good at getting rid of warts. But Strega Nona was getting old, and she needed someone to help her keep her little house and garden. So she put up a sign in the town square. And Big Anthony, who didn't pay attention, went to see her. "Anthony," said Strega Nona, "you must sweep the house and wash the dishes. You must weed the garden and pick the vegetables. You must feed the goat and milk her, and you must fetch the water. For this, I will give you 3 coins and a place to sleep and food to eat." "Oh, grazie," said Big Anthony. "The one thing you must never do," said Strega Nona, "is touch the pasta pot. It is very valuable, and I don't let anyone touch it." "Oh, yes," said Big Anthony. And Strega Nona called Big Anthony in for supper. But too bad for Big Anthony, because he didn't get to see Strega Nona blow 3 kisses to the magic pot. And this is what happened. There we go. And I'm sure most of the people who are watching this will know exactly what happened. It's a great book. It's a huge loss for just for humanity. I was about to say for literature and for kids, but for humanity. And the best way to remember him is to go tonight and read one of his books. And if you can, read one of his books out loud to one of your kids. So, that's it for today. Remember, be kind, be nice to people. We're all trying to figure this out. Have a good night. We are in this together, folks. Wash your hands, and I will catch up with you tomorrow. Bye-bye, everybody.